Next on Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly, Shane Young of Urban Rugby America, formerly of the Memphis Inner City Rugby program. He's the guy, he's the person with the template to build out rugby in the inner cities across the planet. Plus, Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News / Ray's Rugby with the Women's Rugby World Cup, the Men's Pacific Nations Cup, and the MLR Draft. Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle.
There is a massive responsibility on the 23 that are privileged enough to step out on that field today.
Let's start with Shane Young of Urban Rugby America, and formerly, recently, of Memphis Inner City Rugby. Shane, welcome to MLR Weekly. Did I get that all right?
You got it right. It's great to be back on the show. Thank you, Matt.
Well, it's great to see you, and we're going to talk about that good-looking jacket. I hope that I can buy one online, because that is a snazzy-looking jacket with the Urban Rugby American. Yeah, I like that. Nothing that gets to me more than Urban, American, and rugby.
That's right.
Made in America. God dang, Shane. Okay, so Shane, just to give a little background for folks that might not know who you are, and correct me at any given point, but let me finish first. So don't correct me at any point. You're a fellow Jersey kid like me, and together we're the only ones to make it through college out of the state of New Jersey.
I think there's one more person, but we
one more. All right, we'll find out who they are. Florida Gulf Coast University is where it all started for you, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then you moved to Memphis to be a teacher of high school age kids.
Well, I actually ironically taught second graders, but me and my co-founder teamed up to start a high school rugby team as we got started. Yeah.
All right, and that was for the Teach for America Core program.
Yeah, Teach for America. Yep, sent us to Memphis.
And it was Devin O'Brien that you got together with, and then you realized these kids really have nothing in terms of assets because there's no money. And you said, we got to do something, and you started a rugby team. Is that right?
A boys' high school rugby team. Yep, in 2012.
Wow. All right, so take us from there.
Well, and I will fill in one gap there because you said like that's where you got started at FGCU, which, yeah, I got a lot of things started there, college career at least. But prior to that, my family, my brother, myself, my dad, we started a high school rugby program in Naples, Florida called the Bears, where I recruited Cam Dolan to join the rugby team. And that is where he got his start.
Wow.
So I my career has gone into like developing youth and all these things, but we recruited and brought Cam Dolan into the sport of rugby. That's our claim to fame. So
what was the name of the program?
The Naples Bears Rugby Club. We were one of the first like rugby teams in Florida youth rugby. We started in 2005. We won a couple state championships. Cam was our 8-man. I was the scrum half. And so, yeah, if you look up where's Cam from, it's Naples, Florida, and he found rugby because we started that team.
Cam is scheduled to follow you on this show.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Give him a hard time. Me and him got up to no good in high school.
Oh, my God. Was he wearing the uncomfortably tight clothing back then, too? Or is that just a new thing?
He was such a he was a cool kid in high school. He would wear these, like, white Oakley sunglasses. He was a classic Florida kid, and he is from Florida, so it's really funny. Yeah.
That's wild. Okay. All right. Well, this is the synergy. It's just crazy here. Just crazy. Yeah. All right. So, but let's talk about Memphis Inner City Rugby, the program that it's become after your toil. So talk to us about that.
Well, it's hard to just talk about because it's still sort of like emotionally raw for me, being, down here in Florida now for almost 5 months after 12 years of building, scaling, starting Memphis Inner City Rugby, and the lives that we impacted, relationships we built is really unbelievable. But yeah, after starting that one boys high school rugby team, we noticed, wow, we can really solve problems and create opportunity and help our kids, get out of, get more opportunities in the classroom, on the field, whatever it was. we were just trying to pour into these young men. We were 22 years old. We had nothing but energy, purpose. I remember my dad calling me saying, how much money are you making now? Your first job out of college. And I was like, so convicted. I was like, it's not about me. I was like mad that he asked how much money.
Not about money, Dad.
I was spending money and going into credit card debt to buy cleats and fly a kid to a USA camp. We were doing whatever we could to pour into these kids. We did not care what it took. And then that sort of underwrote the DNA for what became MICR, which, now today has serves 350 middle schoolers and high schoolers per year. It's a year-round program. We pour into them even more nowadays because we have 8 people on the full-time staff, 20 plus part-time coaches, a cohort of volunteers. So year-round, are they getting rugby? Yes. Are they traveling and playing games? Yes. But they're getting structured leadership development. They are getting nutrition, transportation to and from practices, case management, college counseling, wellness counseling, mental health, crisis response. And we retain 76% of those students from middle school to high school. And we engaged them for so long that it triggered our alumni support program. Through our alumni support program, we've hired 110 of our own alumni since 2012, and we poured more than $500,000, Matt, into their pockets for their roles as coaches, mentors, drivers, tutors, line the field, film the game. It doesn't matter. We relentlessly engage alumni because we want to create an economic impact, not just, on the field.
Wow. That is incredible. That is incredible. And Memphis Inner City Rugby has a very significant board and a great makeup, a diverse makeup on your board. And part of that board is John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer, who is on the Rugby Odds with me week to week. And people see, that side of him, but they don't see the off the camera side. And he is a big advocate for rugby, and he is always talking up Memphis Inner City Rugby as being one of the great charity organizations out there.
Man, I've learned so much about John all these years because he just, he's got, obviously a great career and people know him for different things. But my gosh, he can talk it up and hype it up, and he's a promoter, and that's who he is. But man, he's really actually thoughtful and critical, and will give feedback and ask questions, and he understands charities. And so I just am so thankful to call him a friend, a board member, a colleague, a partner, an advocate for this work. We're really, really in a different position than we would be otherwise, thanks to John Layfield.
All right, so now we're not going to thank him. We're going to stop thanking him right now. Okay? That's it. I might even cut it out of the edit. Just kidding, Johnny. Just kidding, Johnny. But in all seriousness, he's a great person to have in your corner. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. You now are in Florida, and you're certifiably insane because you chose to move to Florida and you're living there in the summer, and you're wearing a jacket in Florida. So we know that you're playing with a few cards short of deck, but that's what keeps this thing going. And now I think you've got a really cool different scenario on your hands, but maybe is Urban Rugby America, you're building it out down in Florida, but is it a template for a national kind of organization?
Yeah. And it was, thanks to a lot of folks like you doing advocacy work and covering good work and, spreading the word of rugby. It was probably 7 or 8 years, Matt, into building Memphis Inner City Rugby. A documentary came out, we had a lot of attention, and I was getting phone calls, emails, texts. I'm a philanthropist in Baltimore. I'm an urban educator in Houston, or I'm a rugby guy in Oakland. And how do you guys raise money? Or how did you introduce trauma-informed coaching or integrate with your local state rugby union? And how did you partner with schools? Or how do you do this crisis management and help with alumni support? Or how do you hire so many? All these things that we sort of innovated and trial and errored and codified in Memphis Inner City Rugby. We were flying to St. Louis to help them launch a fundraiser. We were going to Chicago to talk to the superintendent. We were doing all this advocacy work on the spare hours that we certainly didn't have. So in 2022, we fell backwards into actually hosting the first ever Urban Rugby Championship. And that was in Memphis on a dusty old lot that actually 10 days from now, we're breaking ground on with the mayor and the county commissioner. Wow. That's another story. I'll get back to that in a moment. But That gave life to a new national network. And we hosted LA, DC, Chicago, Dallas. All these mission-aligned programs came to Memphis to compete. And it was absolute magic, Matt. It was electricity. These kids, they were able to not be the outsiders for the first time. They had something that was just for them. And in our sport, there's really nothing that's just for them. And so we did that. And then in LA in 2023, we did it again, second annual. Then 2024, we go to DC, biggest and best yet. And just 6 months ago, we were, if my math is right, it was in March of this year, we went to New Orleans for the 4th annual Urban Rugby Championship, and I was able to hang with my old buddy Cam Dolan because we actually took all the kids to a NOLA Gold match as part of it.
And I went to the DC one, and I saw Layfield there, which was great.
Yeah.
And it really dawned on me, wow, this is really something. And I started getting the wheels turning in my head about how we can make this bigger so that when these kids play in that championship tournament, we get it like at a special stadium or something, and that may be something that we can do going forward. But what do you need?
Money.
And how can we get you the money, and what does the money do?
Well, I'm glad you asked, and it is such a simple answer because we have a model that works, right? It's in Memphis, but we've also partnered with a group in New York, a group in LA. We're pulling the best out of the group in Dallas. We're starting to actually understand how to do poverty disruption, close academic deficits, and cultivate upward mobility using the sport of rugby. Those statements, Matt, are like profoundly innovative in this game, in this country. And that's how you speak to philanthropists and school partners and people.
Well, you got me hooked on all three of those, right?
So here we go, Matt. I'm going to put it on the record right now that sometime in the next 2 weeks, I need you to introduce me to somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who has a corporate relationship or a philanthropic interest in not rugby, but disrupting poverty, because this model works. We can show the data out of Memphis. We can show the data across the country. And what we are is a skeletal organization with less than $100,000 in the bank account, and we're hanging on to existence by a thread. And that thread is me and Kevin Battle and a small board of directors that we just recruited and onboarded. And it's not full of rugby people. It's full of people who want to solve real problems. So we can scale this. We can support this. I'll tell you what, Matt, we're not going to find another person that's crazy as Devin O'Brien and Shane Young circa 2012 to scale this model and sacrifice our own money and give our best years. You don't find those people. When we do, I guarantee you they'll be Urban Rugby America alumni. And when that day comes, we need to be able to give them a full-time job, salary, benefits. There's no reason why talented people with a vision with solutions, with innovation, with youth development characteristics and talents can't be retained in this game as employees, as leaders. This is something that should not be a stepping stone.
Shane, hold that thought. We got to go longer than we anticipated with you. So we're going to take a break and we'll come back.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we are back with Mr. Shane Young. This is exciting, and it's exciting to me for a number of reasons. But one of them is that you mentioned people outside of rugby, and that is a key component here. It's a key component that seems to be lacking on the American rugby landscape. And I know everybody's intentions are great, and everybody's volunteering to do a lot of stuff, but we need people that come in that are professionals or have a vision or have done something to build out these things.
There's a reason we're irrelevant, broke, and can't win games, and it's not because of non-rugby people. So let's bring some non-rugby people in and see if we can change that.
All right, so let's talk about some change. Can you tell me, Shane Young, how it is that on the Team USA Eagles men's 15s player pool, there are no African Americans? And I'm not talking about Polynesian Americans. I'm talking about African Americans, nor was there one on the roster versus England in DC. How can that be?
Well, the answer is, Matt, that less than 3% of American youth rugby players are black. And we know that 13 to 15% of the American populace is black. And, a lot of folks that are minorities and live in America's urban cores are playing the sports and participating and being fans of the sports that are relevant in America, that have business enterprise in America, that are in schools in America. So rugby is not only an afterthought and not only irrelevant, but in a lot of these communities, literally not even a vocabulary word people know. When we introduced rugby into some of the schools in Memphis, it was not a, you know what I mean? You mentioned rugby, somebody in like Boston area, New York, like different places and communities. People might say, oh, like the thing with the stick, and they'll think it's lacrosse. Yeah. Like, that's how irrelevant we are. We get mixed up with lacrosse. In Memphis back then, they didn't even know what you were saying. So we're so irrelevant in these places.
And you know, following that up, in the MLR, Major League Rugby, after 8 seasons, I can count on 1.5 hands the number of African-American starters. And and half of them are on Houston. And I'm saying African-American players. And
yeah,
we're missing a huge, from a business standpoint, we're missing a huge pool of talent.
Matt, you know that American rugby is the same thing as hockey, ice hockey, right? We're a sport that filters out all the premier athletes, like hockey, right? If you want to filter up and make it to the top of hockey, you got to be born around ice or with enough money to get there. Yeah. You got to be born in a zip code where they give a dang about hockey. So probably Canada, Russia, or Minnesota, the North. So just filter out everyone south, near the equator, south of the Mason-Dixon line, and definitely filter out anyone from a low-income background, and definitely filter out anyone from an American urban inner city core area like that. So watching an NHL hockey game, you might love it, but just know you're not watching the country's premier athletes. You're watching whoever made it. Great so point. That's what rugby does. We just deal with whoever made it. We don't actually try to open the game up to America's best athletes.
Is there hope, Shane?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there wasn't hope, I wouldn't be doing this. And look,
you are wearing a jacket in Florida right now. I'm just saying. So,
yeah. No, it's an interesting question. You say, is there hope? Because like I spend a lot of my time pounding the table, Matt, and trying to expose what's wrong and provide a solution to what's right. I think that's what Urban Rugby America at scale can do and will do. But I am frustrated that it's taken this long and that at age 35, I've been doing this since age 22, really moving mountains to advance this work forward. And I'm looking around, screaming to the rugby community, help us. And, I can't yell at you, Matt, because you're doing it right now. And I appreciate that.
Well, I'm 38 and I've been doing it for 20 years. So no, those are both lies. I have been doing it a long time, but I ain't 38. So yeah, I'm as certifiably as insane as you are, but I'm doing it from a selfish standpoint, and you're changing lives. So there's no comparison really. So I take my hat off to you, sir. And again, if I can do anything to help, and you already got me. You hit me with that question, introduced me to somebody, and I'm thinking, and my Rolodex in my head is spinning to find somebody, and I think I got a couple of 2-3 people that can at least talk to you.
I can't thank you enough, and I won't disappoint you or embarrass you. I know, I can get a little radical about this stuff, but we run
needed. You got to be.
Well, but you got to be able to speak to the right audience, and not everybody needs the rah-rah. Not everybody, negativity doesn't sell. So I'm not going to go to a banker on Wall Street and talk about how much American rugby sucks. I'll give them a little taste of it so we can show, that we're a little bit of a counterbalance and an antidote. But, I'm just telling you, I appreciate the contact, and we'll hit it out of the park for whoever it is that wants to lean in here.
All right, Shane, what's a website that people can go to?
So just urbanrugby.org. Urbanrugby.org is where we don't have we're just actually getting this set up. We founded in 2022, but all we've ever been is an Urban Rugby Championship once a year. Now, after the 4th annual, we've got some support. We're trying to increase capacity. So I'm updating the website. We just sent our first newsletter out. We're building the board of directors. We meet for the first time later this month. So no, I don't have these jackets up on like some store online yet, but you can definitely donate. You can definitely send a message. My email is syoung@urbanrugby.org. And, these are $50. So I have a whole box of them sitting right next to me. I'd love to send somebody
they can buy them and you can send them to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'll show you this real quick, Matt. Let's see if I grab the right one. Yes. All right. So you've seen these as a rugby guy, these challenge coins, right?
Yes.
So this is because we need real money. We need real capacity. So if you donate a 4-figure check, and I'll let all the audience do the math, you become a part of the Urban Rugby America Founders Circle. So, you can get a jacket.
How long between the weight of the check clearing and the sending of the coin?
We got to clear first.
Shane Young.
So we're trying to get sponsors and support. We're getting this thing off the ground. So jackets, $50. Talk to me about a Founders Circle, and that comes with some other benefits there. But this is how we're getting this going.
All right. Well, I'm behind you 100%, and I know that you're going to make it all work, and we're going to get you some help. Damn it.
Well, we're gonna convert that help into real change, and you're gonna notice it, feel it. You're gonna see it when you watch MLR. You're gonna see it when you watch USA Rugby. It's gonna take years. It's gonna take a couple years, but it's not gonna be that many that we're too old to watch it when it happens. We're gonna be here.
All right, Shane. We're gonna have to do this again sooner than later. We can't wait this long, and this is a thing of urgency.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. All right,
you. Mr. Shane Young of Urban Rugby America. Thank you for coming on MLR Weekly.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back after this.
Digs like a demented mole there.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained?
And we are back with Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News / Ray's Rugby. Bryan, you've been gone so long. We haven't seen you. Where have you been? What have you done? I don't care. Let's talk rugby.
Yeah, good idea. Nobody needs to know where I've been hiding.
Yeah. So tell me, you must be just bursting inside about all the stuff that's gone on in the MLR while you were in Saskatoon.
3 teams gone. It's a bit of a shock to the system, not going to lie. You can spin it whatever way you want, but I don't see how dropping that many teams in one offseason can really be considered a positive. It has to be concerning league-wide. I have no intel that they're not going to go ahead. Obviously, it looks like they are. But from a fan's perspective, it's rough. It's just another off season where you're trying to, just have a normal time and try to figure out who's going where, what team needs what. We had that discussion on this very show and said, well, we don't even know what teams are in, and here we are. And
for me, the biggest news, and we talk about it on the Rugby Odds this week, is whether or not Antoine Dupont's ownership is going to translate to the new team.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's the burning question everybody has, right, Matt? Oh my goodness, whose ownership is still good?
We can afford to lose teams. Look, we can afford to lose teams. We can't afford to lose Antoine Dupont.
Any of these little minority investors, we need them all. We need everyone we can find.
All right, and what do you make of the rumors about the URC on the East Coast potentially and the Super Rugby on the West Coast potentially?
Don't waste my time with that crap. Thank you.
But that's your opinion, or is that what you think of the rumors?
It's ludicrous. Come on, guys. We're talking about absurd amounts of travel here. Who in the United States gives a damn about some competition across? Guys, that just ain't how it works in North America. If you think it does, send me whatever you're smoking.
All right. Okay. Let's segue now to the Rugby World Cup, the Women's Rugby World Cup, before we get to the Pacific Nations Cup. What's your take on the Women's Rugby World Cup? And first up, we've got your Canadian players and my USA players playing. What do you think they're going to do in their respective matches?
Yeah, I think with the Eagles, they're kind of it's been a bit of a transition. They just don't really look super settled right now. They've got some, outstanding returning players, obviously Kate Zachary, Rachel Johnson, these kinds of players. I love Kelter. People talk about Alona Mara, but I mean, there are better players on this team. Alona's doing her thing. She's still going to play a big role in this, and obviously doing a tremendous service to the game off the field. But I just don't think as a team they're really in that top, competition. I would see quarterfinals, I think, for them. But Canada, I'm very, very excited about, and I think all fans of rugby should be excited about them. They're playing a great brand of rugby, ridiculous depth. I mean, we've just lost Pam Buisa from the squad, and we get to call up Julia Omokuale, who's been outstanding for Leicester in the Premiership. Chrissy Scurfield, who made the dream team in the Premiership, somehow hasn't even made our traveling squad, which baffles me. But that just shows the exceptional talent that Canada has built for this tournament. So I absolutely think they're headed towards a final. I think a Canada-England final is on the cards, and man, I hope there's an upset in there. And obviously the odds makers are heavily slanted towards England at home, and rightfully so. I mean, they haven't been beaten since the last World Cup. So but I think this is going to be a good tournament.
Let's go to the Pacific Nations Cup. What do you make of that?
Well, it's such a weird kind of thing that World Rugby have thrown together. Three of four teams that are trying to qualify can make it. So effectively, it's one win in this tournament, and you basically qualified. So right off the bat, we've got the big one, Canada, USA, and this venue here, McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Kind of a weird build up to this one. Neither team's really wanting to show their hand. We've had some bodies in, some bodies out from both teams. A couple interesting names. Nafi Maafu for the Eagles, Evan Olmsted, Tyler Ardron for Canada. Guys, we haven't really seen in a while or at all at this level. Wow. Yeah, I'm telling you. So it's going to be interesting. I think people who have written off Canada for a long time, certainly under the previous coach, are going to be a little bit surprised. I think they've been working hard, and I'm expecting a much, much better showing from Canada. And frankly, I think there might be an upset on the cards on Friday, but that might be my Maple Leaf kind of shining through.
How much pleasure would you take out of the USA not qualifying for the Rugby World Cup again because they lost to Canada?
I would take no pleasure in that, in all honesty, Matt. I want the Eagles to be in. World Rugby wants them to be in. Everybody, I think, would love to see the Eagles in. I think they do qualify. I don't think there's a huge risk that they don't. If they slip up a couple times, it might take the repechage. Let's hope not. But I honestly would take no. I want to see all the MLR guys that we watch week in, week out to be in there on the biggest stage in a couple of years.
Who's going to win it?
Man, Friday is going to be a squeaker, and then we'll see. Even Samoa and Tonga haven't sent their strongest outfits, so I think one of those teams could end up being on the bottom with a couple North American teams slightly above. So it's going to be an interesting tournament anyways, but obviously massive, massive stakes for Canada and the USA.
All right, well, Bryan, thanks for coming on. On that note, we're out of time, so thank you to Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News and Ray's Rugby. Thank you to Shane Young of Urban Rugby America. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out the Rugby Odds. It's a good one. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Check out our weekly newsletter. And please sign up for our American Red Cross blood donor team. Phew.